You are listening to the Holistic Hormone Podcast. I'm your host, Eleanor Dooley, and if you're seeking a deeper understanding of your body's inner workings, the reasons behind its actions and reactions, and you suspect that your hormones might be at play, you are in the right place, my friend. As a functional medicine nutritionist specializing in holistic hormone health for women, I bring together the latest research, my clinical expertise, and my own personal experiences to create a safe space for you to learn and explore. Just remember, this podcast provides information and inspiration for you, not medical diagnoses or treatments. Always consult your own doctor before making any changes. Now, are you ready to dive in? Let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Eleanor Dooley, your holistic hormone and gut specialist, and I have a really special episode today because I'm not talking about either of those things. Today, I'm going to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart that helped me become the woman that I am today in business, in my life, my personal life, my marriage, my friendships. And it all has to do with something called Neuro-Linguistic Programming, or NLP. Now, if you've heard of that term, you might be thinking to yourself that isn't that something like hypnotherapy where you kind of not really awake and you reprogram your brain to think things that you want it to think. Well, it's kind of like that, but I'm going to go into a lot more detail about how it works and what it actually does. Because I've heard many women come to me and say that I've tried therapy before, and quite honestly, I don't really feel like much has changed. I'm still holding on to anger. I'm still holding on to pain. If there's been past trauma, you're still being terrorized by the thoughts of it or remembering it inside of your body. And if I told you there was a way to address the root cause of the anger and finally find that self-forgiveness, like for real, not just kind of talk about your problems and get over them. This is just a much more transformative therapy that has helped women to break through the blocks that they know are already holding them back. So for women that want more confidence, or they want to be less angry all the time and more understanding and more compassionate with their friends or loved ones, their children, their grandchildren, they know that they have the capacity to feel and be much more empathetic than they already are. But something is holding them back, and it's deeply rooted inside of them. So we've all heard those stories about the quick fix therapies that kind of fizzle out after a while. Like any fad diet, you try it, you might see a smidge of progress, but after that, you kind of get bored and move on. Various therapists have tried to probably help you relive your anger by trying to get you to see other perspectives. And in some cases, that can make you even more frustrated, because I know that I have felt unseen and unheard and really not feeling validated in my feelings. And NLP isn't really about that. It's not about controlling your mind or controlling your thoughts or suppressing the anger or trying to think of something nice or think of something better. This isn't about gaslighting yourself and pretending that problem isn't that big or it's not that big of a deal. Why am I so upset about it? Other people aren't upset about it. Why am I holding on to it? And when we do that, we're really invalidating our own experience, and that can be pretty crappy. And so when we use NLP, we're actually finding out what you can and what you've already learned from that experience. No matter how heinous the trauma was, no matter how unforgivable the behavior was, it's about understanding how your thoughts, language, and experience shape your current reality. So what you are experiencing today is being viewed through a lens that you have cultivated from years and years and decades of experience. And sometimes that negativity or that anger is actually a self-fulfilling prophecy. And what I mean by that is something that makes you angry, if that keeps happening, you can keep pointing to it and say, see, it's making me angry. It's still happening. It's still happening. But with NLP, you can actually think of it as rewiring the way that your brain understands that information. And we can do that in a way that turns the situation into positive learnings in a real and effective way. Maybe you've been holding on to anger or hurt for many years. You've been through some real shit in your past, and this anger has protected you and kept you safe from other atrocities that could have befallen you, right? You have stopped other people from potentially hurting you. And this anger has served you very well. You never have to let go of the lessons that you've learned. In fact, the lessons are why your unconscious mind is holding on to these memories, these experiences. And in some cases, we don't have memory of the experience, but we have it in our body. And that's when I'm talking about the unconscious mind. It's the way that our body is actually reacting to situations where maybe our mind doesn't understand them. So an example of this would be when I walk into a room of strangers, I want to feel confident and I want to feel sure of myself and have self-esteem when I introduce myself. But I just don't feel like I can do that. I can kind of pretend a little, but I can't actually believe it. That's what I'm talking about rewiring. Why can you not do it? What is that block that is actually holding you back from experiencing that confidence and that drive to be who you want to be, whether that's in business or whether it's being a mom or being a partner or being a sister, a spouse. If you have feelings that you know are holding you back and you don't really know why, that is what this work is designed to do. Traditional therapy might help you understand the why you feel upset, why you were triggered. But NLP is actually the tool that is given to change those negative thought patterns that keep you stuck. Let me start at the beginning. What exactly is NLP? So NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and it involves understanding how we communicate with ourselves and others, and how that communication creates and influences our patterns of behavior and thought. NLP focuses on strategies to change these patterns by altering the way our brain responds to past experiences. So that was a mouthful. But what I'm really getting to is that our brain communicates with our nervous system, right? And so if things are pretty hardwired, meaning you experience something, your brain doesn't actually have to think through the problem if it's already solved it. So if it's solved a problem of feeling insecure by forcing you to kind of slump down a little bit and to maybe put your head down and not really be present, it has taught you that when that situation comes, that's the reaction that you have. You no longer actually think about doing that. Just like the example I said about walking in the room and not feeling confident, that's an automatic reaction at this point in our lives. We automatically react whichever way. And so when we're talking about these automatic reactions, it's because we've created neural pathways or connections in our brain that we can just simply repeat because it's super efficient for the brain to do that. Because if the brain had to evaluate each and every response, every moment of every day, you would become so overwhelmed that you couldn't process anything. So our brain, in order to allow us to function in the world, it has these neural pathways that are quick and they're automatic every time that we experience whatever the stimulus is. So one of the core elements of NLP is the belief that we can actually rewire the brain. And that's what, if you've ever heard the term neuroplasticity, it's the ability to rewire those pathways, meaning the old pathways we can let go and we can actually program new pathways of thinking, new reactions that we automatically have when we walk into a room or when we feel fear. Now, this doesn't mean we no longer experience bad things. This doesn't mean we no longer experience anger or fear or hurt or guilt or shame. Of course, we're going to experience those things, but we're going to experience them in the present moment, meaning a whole lifetime of experience isn't going to be piled on top of that one present experience. So you are going to have an appropriate amount of anger for whatever the situation is, and not kind of fly off the handle and seemingly feel like, oh my gosh, I totally lost it on something that seems so insignificant. So what really is at the heart of this work is self-forgiveness. And it's really more, it's really more than just saying, I'm sorry to myself, right? I don't know if you've ever done that, or if you've ever been in therapy, or you've seen journaling prompts to say, forgive yourself. It's about truly letting go of the fear, the guilt, the anger, and the resentment that we carry. We carry it in our body. We carry it for other people. We carry it from our past. And when I started this work, I started screaming, yeah, that's really great and that's cool, but how is that possible? You can't just let go of something that makes you super angry, or some miscarriage of justice that had happened in the past to you that you were completely innocent of, and this bad thing happened to you. It's not really possible to just say, oh, we're all good now. But through the NLP techniques, I will guide you into understanding how you can rethink and reframe those negative emotions and beliefs by reprogramming the perspective. So we're not actually diving in and forgiving people or saying it was okay however they wronged us, because that's a common misconception about forgiveness, is that, oh, I have to say what they did is all right. And absolutely not. Holding people accountable is still very, very important in this process. But the thing is, you don't have to carry it. It's like that old saying, I'm drinking poison because I'm hoping that the other person will die, right? We're poisoning ourselves when we carry this guilt, shame, anger, hurt, and we're just piling it on to all of our experiences. So let me give you an example of a client that recently came to me. She was feeling trapped in a cycle of anger and hurt from abuse, and just really closed off to joy or experiencing happiness, because she just had a traumatic childhood experience. And the belief that she carried around, that this anger would keep her safe and would prevent it from potentially happening again. In NLP, we call that an anchor thought. It's a negative belief formed in the past that kind of resurfaces now and again. And then you notice it resurfacing maybe once a day, and then twice a day. And then it's pretty much all consuming, that you re-experience and reinforce these feelings of anger and negativity all the time. That's usually when we get the memo that I need help with this, right? I don't know how to process this. I'm angry all the time. I feel hurt. It's affecting my work, my marriage. And so NLP helps us identify these anchors and understand how they're actually fueling the emotions. And the really cool part is we don't have to sit and talk about it. We don't have to sit and relive all of this trauma and try to change our mind. I use a technique that combines internal family systems, or IFS, with a quantum time technique, or QTT. So I'm actually connecting the part of you that's holding on to the anger with your current present self. Now, imagine your anger as a sacred child inside of you, a small piece of you. IFS helps you, the adult, have a conversation with that inner child, or inner younger person. Doesn't have to be a child. With this one particular client, it was a teenager, and then it was a 20-year-old. So any past version that is holding on to the anger, what we can do is ask what it needs. We can ask that past version what it did not get in its reality, whether it didn't get seen, it didn't get validated, it didn't get heard, it was scared, it felt forgotten. Whatever that emotion is, in this particular case, it was anger for a young girl who hadn't felt validated in her feelings. She was told to sit down and be quiet and don't cry and all of these things, which I don't know about you, but I can definitely relate to in my childhood. That's kind of how it was back when I was a kid. Kids weren't validated for their emotions or their experiences. And so by being able to acknowledge this part of the pain, this part that's holding on to that anger because it's unresolved, we could let it go because we knew the root, and we knew that whatever that part needed, we were able to give what that part needed. So if that part needed validation, we were able to talk to that part and give that part validation. So once this client was able to address the root cause of the anger, so the very first time that her body experienced that emotion, that feeling, it opened the door for the possibility of self-forgiveness to actually be possible. And then when she came out of it and went back kind of living her life, she was able to start to see herself with a little bit more compassion, realizing that younger version of herself wasn't at fault. And she's validated for her experience. And it's okay that she was mad or angry or felt injustice, because we were able to resolve that feeling from the root. And in the end, we were able to offer comfort and support and compassion. Now, that is kind of the complete picture of the therapy. And I go through this with each client with 6 major emotions. They are anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, and shame. So when we start with those 6 anchors, we're able to really get a great foundation for any limiting beliefs that come up in your life. So if you feel, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of getting clients, or I'm not worthy of another person's love, or I'm not worthy of abundant money, abundance flowing. If you've ever come across these feelings and you're not really sure where they came from or why you actually believe that, but you do believe it. And so we're able to clear so many of those before we even get to your limiting beliefs. By the time we hit the 3rd session, all of the limiting beliefs that most of my clients write down at the very beginning, we open back up the notebook and say, okay, let's go in and look at some of these. They're already resolved. So that's why I start with the big 6 emotions first, because generally those are the ones that really shape who we are today, how we make decisions, and the limiting beliefs that we've formulated. Because once my client was able to get to the root, she was actually able to start feeling that forgiveness and that compassion for herself. So, I do want to say that NLP isn't, this magic bullet where you're all of a sudden going to be a completely different person and super, opposite of who you were. You're still going to experience life. You're still going to have hard days. You're still going to get sad. But life is meant to be experienced in the present. And so by eliminating a lot of this underlying, it's like simmering or brewing under the surface, if we're able to remove all of that, think about it, it takes away your body's anxiety. Anxiety is reliving trauma of the past in the present. But if we're able to clear that, there's not really anything to be anxious about. And that's what's so cool about it. It's because we're not taking a medication, or we're not, writing out all of our experiences, and we're actually reprogramming the way that our brain reacts to certain stimulus. Now, I know reaching out for help can be super scary, and I get it. This is not for everybody. I actually don't take many clients for this modality in my practice, just one, maybe two a month, because I'm so invested in the progress and the time and the space to allow somebody to experience this and to actually change and heal. You don't have to carry this anger and this hurt and this fear and the shame and this guilt and this sadness alone. If you're curious about NLP and how it can help you heal, I'd love to offer you a free consultation where we can talk about it a little bit more. You can get your questions answered. All you have to do is go over to my website. There's a link for a free consultation. Now, the consultation says hormone, gut, and mindset. So if you're only interested in just the NLP, then that's totally fine, and you can indicate that. I have combined packages for holistic hormone, gut, and NLP work, because a lot of women that come to me with hormone and gut imbalance, we discover that a lot of what they're holding in their body is actually part of their unconscious mind. And so when we're able to clear a lot of the mental blocks that are keeping us feeling stuck, our body has the ability to dramatically heal quickly. So you can go to my website. It's eleanordooley.com. You can always find me on social media. On Instagram, I'm holistic.hormone.specialist. You can DM me. My number is on my website. You can text or call me to set up a free appointment. But I want to wrap up by saying that you deserve to feel empowered and free from the burdens of the past that are holding you back. You deserve that. And I believe that you can achieve that. And I want to help you do it. I want to show you how quickly and efficiently you can do this. NLP is a brilliantly powerful tool on your healing journey. So I urge you, just take that first step. You won't regret it. Thank you for tuning in to the Holistic Hormone Podcast. I appreciate you being a part of our community, and I hope you found today's episode truly valuable. If this podcast meant something to you and you'd like to show your support, please consider leaving me a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Your reviews help others discover this valuable information. Don't forget to stay connected with me on social media. You can always find me on Instagram at holistic.hormone.specialist, where I share insights, tips, and updates to keep you informed and inspired. And if you're interested in exploring my latest programs and resources, head over to nourishingnutrition.net to see what's new and how you can further your journey to holistic hormone health. Once again, thanks for being part of this podcast family. Your health and well-being matter, and I'm here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, take care and stay hormonally balanced.